What's
Speaking,
going
yeah,
on,
good.
Ryan?
Not much. Yeah, this has been the meeting I've been most looking forward to during my workday. So thanks for making time. So I'm kind of coming with two deals that are not great deals, but as I'm like calling brokers and finding listings, I'm learning like I don't really know how to fully underwrite a commercial deals yet. So I'm hoping to just like kind of it's going to be a bit of run through the basics. Oh, Ryan, here's the obvious thing you're missing, and like
Let's do
get
it.
some of the 101 from you so that I can like filter deals better as I go.
Got it.
Um, cool. I'll share my screen, and I kind of have two to walk through here. Um, One of them is like, and can you see my screen now? Or is it still pulling up?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. So this one is a certainly not a great deal, but it's something that I was like, okay, this is good practice because it's more of a simpler underwriting. And as I was underwriting it, even as a triple net, I was like, I don't really know like what to assume for a lot of these costs. So context, this is in Dayton. It was a mom and pop grinding company, kind of a flex space, advertised as industrial, but there's office in the front. It's 13,000 square feet of industrial in the back. The ceilings, as you can see, I forget the exact height, but it's like 20 something feet in the back. And they don't have a loading dock, but they have like the garage doors and all of that. And then they talk about like compressed air lines and power. And I don't really know. That was I mean, I'm getting into detailed questions, but like when you talk about thinking about what kind of power a building is getting, like what does this really mean? Two 600 amp, 480 volt, like three phase service. Do you know what any of that terminology means?
Yes. Let's start at the top.
Yeah, yeah.
So 11.7, no, scroll down. Sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, so we will start $35 a square foot just above here, right?
Yep.
Now, what does that tell you? What does it
I th-
cost to build a house? Do you know?
um I thought it was maybe more around like 100 over 100 square dollars a square foot to build, but maybe
It
not.
it used to be.
Okay.
The supply chain issues have caused prices to go well above 200 per square foot
Yeah.
for residential, right? Now,
Yep.
commercial will vary, and the metal part of this building will not be that expensive. But let's look at those giant rooftop units on the warehouse.
Yeah.
So those are commercial condensers on the roof, right? They're very expensive, much more so than the typical residential AC unit.
Yeah.
Um, and in a minute, we'll Google map this and see if we can get an idea of the roof. You
I got
can't.
pictures when I called the broker too of a little bit of the roof.
Okay, good. So we know that $35 a square foot is um 30% of build cost at best. I mean, probably much lower, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting this um at a third or less of what it costs to reconstruct this. So let's scroll down a little bit.
Yeah.
We have 11.7 clear in the original building. Now, remember we talked about clear span, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Clear
Yeah.
means the lowest obstruction still gives you 11 and a half feet, which
Yeah.
in a residential house, ceilings are 8, 9, sometimes 10 feet at most, and 10 seems tall. So
Okay.
11.7 is
Yeah.
definitely the opposite of claustrophobic.
Okay.
20,
Okay. Yeah.
21 to 23 clear height in the addition. So again, that means the lowest obstruction. Um, that means you can stack pallet racks in there, right? When you go to Costco,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
you see how they stack everything. So that's great for not just manufacturing, but storage as well.
Okay.
And this kind of opens up the possibilities for this building. If we look at the picture one more time,
Yeah.
um, initially when I saw this, I'm thinking, okay, so now the challenge is you have to find somebody that is an office slash retail user that
Yeah.
also needs warehouse or manufacturing space, right?
Hmm.
And that could be a cabinet maker, furniture maker. But when you have this storefront that can be open to customers, It opens up any kind of distribution, janitorial equipment, um, food service supplies, really anybody that wants to sell anything but wants to store things on site,
Yeah.
right? So that's good.
Okay.
And let's scroll down a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, Cranes available separately from real estate.
They're
Um,
doing an equipment auction as well. So there's some equipment. I think that's what they're referring to. Some of the equipment inside the building, but I could be wrong.
yeah. I've Cranes are typically not used unless they're doing heavy manufacturing. In this building, the size of it doesn't justify having a crane.
Okay.
You can get by with forklifts, so you don't need the crane. Compressed air lines, okay, so it's some kind of machine shop where they're fabricating something
Hmm.
that's
Yeah, they used to service like all the auto manufacturers forever ago, and
okay.
then family business. Then just recently, the grandma who kind of owned it still passed away, and the kids don't want it. But the kids are also like retirement age, so there's a bit of a motivated seller there.
Good. Um, One drive-in door. Remember, the tallest semi will fit in a 14-foot door,
Okay,
right? So,
is that assuming that it's a dock, so it's starting higher off the ground, or even if it's ground level, 14 feet is tall enough?
um, no. So the semi trailer or the top of the cab will be at most 14 feet high. But in this case, they write drive-in door under the executive summary.
Yeah.
So the drive-in door is 12 by 14, which will tell you a semi can fit in there. Or
Great.
at I doubt anyone's bringing a semi in there, but they could back a trailer up to the door. They could drive a box truck into the building. Make sense?
Yeah. So
Okay, go ahead.
yeah. So 14 feet is good. Like that's adequate in terms of height.
Correct.
Okay.
There's not much reason to go any bigger because there's nothing bigger that's going to be on the interstates than 14 feet.
Okay.
600 amp, 480 volt, three phase. Um, the three phase power is usually for specialized equipment used in manufacturing. Warehouses will never need that. Um, so this is very heavy power.
Okay.
Whenever you see three phase, it just means there was some kind of machine in there that required it. It's a bonus to have. In our area, it's not terribly expensive to add, but it's a nice bonus to have. Uh, Floor drains in warehouse, good. Bus ducts in warehouse. I'm assuming that's for AC and
Okay.
heat. Compressed air lines, cranes. Okay, let's go to the attachment. Okay, so just under 1 acre, 2,400 square feet of office. Now, again, that office could be retail showroom as well.
Yeah. Right next door is like a granite countertop
Got it.
setup, same kind of building, but they're doing it more that way.
Okay, Allie, what's up? Are you paying attention?
Hey, I am. I'm
Am I
engaged.
good?
Sorry, I was
Am
late.
I talking loud enough?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
great.
So the one thing that you missed, Ryan, if you scroll to the top, it's $35 per square foot. Oh, sorry, not on this page, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's right. It's 35 bucks a square foot, right? And we know that new construction is $200 plus per square foot,
Okay.
right? So we're getting this at 15, 20% of build cost. So if somebody else wants to build something competing with this, they're going to have to charge a lot more in rent.
Hmm.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Let's go back to the attachment. All right. 2,400 square foot of office, but again, that could be demised if somebody needs additional showroom. You can knock down some walls. and you know that because it's a single story structure, right?
Mhm.
There's not going to be that much structural, that many structural beams inside that span. We cover the door, the floor drains, uh, metal roof. When we call the brokers, we would want to ask the age of the roof, right? You always want to ask these questions so that they know you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and now it's important to see who the listing people are. And the reason I say that is if it's Marcus and Millichap, you know it's priced high, right? I mean, they're professional brokers. They're amongst the best in the business. JLL, same thing. I have not heard of Apex Commercial Group. So if you would open up a new tab and let's check out Apex Commercial Group.
Yeah. Here they have a. I talked with them. They're a pretty big team, is what at least what I'm seeing on here, where there's a decent amount of them that all
Okay.
went participated in the same photo shoot.
It's not in the same chair.
And
Yeah.
they're all in the 937-513 area code. So they're local,
Yeah.
right? So let's scroll down. Let's see what other listings they have for lease
These.
or for sale.
Yeah. And I had him send anything else that was for sale via email, but they were all repetitive. This was the other flex space industrial that they had.
Okay. You want to bookmark this site.
This is just their LoopNet page.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
Probably find they weren't sure they have a website
Yeah.
early, right?
Apex.
Okay. So these guys have some decent deals. Now, this would be good to see if there's anything on their site that's not on the LoopNet page.
Yeah. Just want for sale.
There's a few things. We don't know if these are just old and they didn't update their own website,
Yeah.
but bookmark this. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll put it here for now. That's the other property, Stanley. Yeah, and yeah, okay, cool.
Let's go back to their page. Let's look at for lease listings. Let's see if these guys and girls are mostly brokers that want to sell or if they also do for lease. Okay, they've got a fair amount of industrial for lease.
Yeah.
Good.
When you see the for lease on a lot of these industrial buildings, what's kind of the assumed? I know that all terms are negotiable, but what's kind of the assumed? If I see 595, should I assume that's a triple net lease rate or like a gross rate, or I don't know, what's kind of the standard when you see a price like that?
You assume it's gross.
Gross.
Well, on a for lease listing, um, you don't want to assume that. On a for sale, um, if they say rents are, you assume it's gross unless they tell you it's triple net.
Yeah.
Now, why would they not list triple net here if it is?
Yeah, I mean,
You know why? Because they want the phone call. Somebody
yeah, you want
sees,
the
oh my
lower
God, wait a
price.
minute, 525 per square foot. Let me call this broker. And
Mhm.
then the broker is going to be like, oh yeah, plus it's $2 a month in CAM, right?
Yeah.
But let's click on the flyer and maybe it tells us.
Net.
Ah, okay.
And I asked, this is like I asked the broker. I was talking to Wayne, who is this guy here, Wade, and I asked him like, "Hey, how much do you think you could rent this for?" And he said $5 a square foot triple net. But like I have to imagine also that a broker would err on the high side when I'm asking as someone who would buy the building. So I don't know how much that estimate is worth, but he said they have a good amount for lease right now, and that five would be the assumption for
Okay.
triple net.
So that probably means $7 per square foot all in, right? So this
What,
is
what-
525 plus triple net.
oh,
Because gross, you're paying for their expenses. They pay more.
Well, no, look, it's obscure, right? I mean, does that mean the 525 includes triple net? And the answer is no, because we know that's too low.
oh, you're saying this is not the triple net
Correct.
lease, eh?
It's 525 per square foot, and you're paying the triple net charge.
Oh, I would not have read it that way. Okay.
I wouldn't have
Interesting.
either back in the day, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I think what I was struggling with is I was like, let me see if I can find some comps on LoopNet and Crepsy for lease rates. But I just didn't know it's like, is this really 525 or is this something different or higher or lower? Okay.
Let's say on the low end for the pro forma, let's use $6 a square foot all in gross, right?
Okay.
We'll come back to that. But let's okay,
Yeah,
so
that'd be
the good thing is they have some for lease spaces, right?
yeah.
And just not knowing this immediate area, we know that roughly we're looking at about $6-7 per square foot all in.
Okay. Helpful. Yeah, because I think this is where a lot of my questions is around like how to estimate expenses because it's a business and he doesn't have any sort of like NOI estimates. So I'm like I don't have any rules of thumb around that. So
Did
would
they
love
list the taxes on this one?
I don't think so, but we looked it up. Um, oh, there you go, 982202,
Okay,
and then
good.
the assessed value was 248.
Right.
And this is at 485. So with taxes, well, I kind of modeled it as a triple net, but let me put it in. So 9822. And then this would be like if we didn't do entity transfer, the new taxes here.
Okay, let's stick with column 1 for now.
Perfect. Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, so you have 25% down, and this is the full asking price.
Yeah.
7.5%, 25 years. Good.
Are those the right assumptions?
Um, yes, just to be safe, let's go 8.
Yep.
All right, is there a tenant there now?
No, it's single tenant, and the business, like the family's, passed away and selling the building and the business. Well, the
Got it.
business they're just selling for
liquidating
parts.
their business, right?
Yeah.
Okay, how far do you guys live from this?
I mean, we live right near you, and
Oh,
this is
okay.
downtown Dayton.
Got it.
So
Like an hour.
yeah,
Yeah.
however far it is to Dayton from
Let's pull
Kennedy.
up Google Maps.
Yeah.
All right, so big parking lot.
Hmm.
Do we know where the loading dock is or the drive-in door?
It's all in the back here.
Okay.
Yeah. I know. I was like, would a semi truck be able to like angle it and then have to get in and out? It's a little tight back there.
Yes. But again, I think a box truck could easily get in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And again, even if a semi truck pulls up, you can get a forklift. So a loading dock is not necessary with this size of building.
Yeah.
If it was 30,000 square feet, you would need a semi truck.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's look at some of the neighbors.
Yeah. So this is Kingstone countertop. Um, You can kind of see the countertops stacked on their little thing in the back.
Let's get an angled view. So go to street level. Just keep clicking on the street. Okay. Um, got it. Let's keep going.
Like kind of move down the street.
Yeah, and just so you know, we're looking at May of 22.
Okay, yeah. East Company. Still attorneys
So
at
just
law.
let's scroll out just a little bit.
What do you like? What do you mean by scroll out?
Zoom out.
I think
Mouse wheel down should work as well.
your little zoom's all tapped out.
I think you say just go out of.
Yeah, you seem to be in a different mode.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a link to click on.
Okay.
It's in the chat. Why does it do that? Why is mine I'm going to share my screen. I just like this view better.
Oh yeah. How did you? I'll figure that
Like
out.
the practice.
I feel like I'm a baby boomer. I can't figure out Google Maps.
So I'm using Chrome for one.
Yeah.
And then just type into Google, go to Street View, and then you can look around. But then if you mouse wheel down, you get this angled view, and then you could turn and kind of see the sides of the buildings as well, instead of
Nice.
just looking at dirty rooftops, right?
Yeah.
So back to your building. Where was it?
It's the one with the little red scrapes on it. Yeah, that one there.
Okay, got it. All right, metal roof. It's been patched, or it was painted, or something, right?
Yeah.
Or is that rust? Uh, no idea, but doesn't look like it's in bad condition. Obviously, this is not enough for us to tell. So next door here, don't know, but it's something that's active. It seems like this building here is similar in that there's some office showroom, warehouse in the back. It seems to be the name of the game on this street.
Yeah.
And although this is May of 22, I don't see a ton of for lease listings, which is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And if there was a for lease listing, we would call them and say, hey, what's the deal? Do you have tenants for this building? Were you able to lease up your building? How long did it take?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're just in an industrial area, which is perfect.
Yeah. And it's
We
pretty
saw,
close to the highways, which is nice too.
yep,
So,
we saw some water. So we will do a FEMA flood map. So at some point, you go to FEMA.com or .gov and just find out if this is in a floodplain.
Okay.
That will affect lending and insurance. Oh, now here's another beautiful thing. We're right by 75. And is there an exit that is easily accessible? Yes, there's one here, as well as one here as well.
Yeah.
So you're incredibly accessible to an interstate, to one of the most major interstates in the US,
Yeah.
which is why all of this industrial is here. Let's go back to your pro forma. I'll stop sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where did the 68,000 come from?
right now that's just $5 a square foot times the square foot. So
Okay, got it.
we can play with that.
Yep. Let's see what this does to the numbers. So let's
Yeah.
scroll down.
Okay.
Um, I would. This is going to be a single tenant building,
Yep.
so I would make them responsible for snow removal. That's not on you.
Okay.
You've got the taxes. Let's not do vacancy right now.
Yep.
Let's put 50,000 for repairs.
Okay. Would that mostly be for year one?
Yeah, I just want to be very conservative in how we do this, right?
Yeah.
Landscaping will be on the tenant as well.
Okay.
Utilities, obviously, all the utilities are on the tenant. Um, let's just look at what this does for debt service and cash on cash.
Yeah.
Negative 20%. Let's get rid of that 50,000.
Yeah.
Positive 20%. Now let's go back up and go to $4 a square foot.
Yeah. So would we still pay taxes in a triple net? I thought that was one of the nets.
You're right, but we are conservatively underwriting this,
Cool. Yeah.
assuming we're going to have the cheapest rent in the neighborhood
Yeah.
and we're going to pay our own taxes. It's going to be a gross lease. And you have a 9.5% cash on cash. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Not what you want, but if we're looking at worst case, it's like not a bad floor. If it's the floor.
Correct. I would say let's look at putting less money down. The problem is, if it's vacant, you're not going to put less money down. If you can secure a tenant under due diligence, you could potentially get 20% down, right? But we're not going to
Yeah.
do that now. We're
Yeah.
not going to look at this through rose-colored glasses. It's going to be a stress test pro forma.
Yeah.
Um, so look, we know that if we rent this out, if do we do $5 or $4?
This is 4 right now.
Okay, $4 is warehouse space, like not even good warehouse space, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if we lease this up for $4 a square foot, it should be easy to get a tenant.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. What are the next steps? You've already had a conversation with the broker.
Yep.
What do they tell you? When was a tenant in there last?
Um, I did not ask.
Okay.
I didn't ask that. Yeah.
Okay. What else do they tell you?
Yeah. So they talked about the space, which all things we covered with like the power, the ceiling height. I learned more about the area in that like whatever 50 years ago, these were all companies that service the car auto manufacturers, and now they're all second generation. Like the one that was in this building was grinding, so it was creating metal parts for the manufacturers and the machines. It was a family-owned business, and then yeah, I think the father passed away a long time ago. The remaining widow just passed away in the last year, and now the kids who are of retirement age don't want the property anymore, so they're auctioning off the equipment, selling the building. I don't know how long it's been vacant, but I could figure it out at least looking at maybe Google reviews, or their website's still operable. I don't know if that means anything. Um, so
That's okay.
yeah.
Not a huge deal.
And then
Um,
they sent pictures of the roof, but it was just from the top of a ladder, so it didn't really show me much.
did it look okay?
I don't. I've actually never like evaluated a metal roof, so I didn't really know. There was maybe some rust spots, but I didn't know how to take like the red paint versus the white paint.
Yeah. The
Oh,
good
I
thing
think
is, um, the good thing is, so it looks like the red paint might have been an additional coating of waterproofing, so
okay,
any condensation can run off the roof without rusting the metal.
got it.
The good thing with the metal roofs is you can coat them; they last a very long time.
Hmm,
Versus a rubber roof, you have to replace. Right?
okay.
So metal roofs are great.
Oh,
Um,
good. Yeah.
what's the burn rate on this per month if you don't have any tenants?
Yeah, the monthly debt servicing 2,800
No,
plus.
let's just do this. Hold on. Let's just take away the revenue.
Sure.
Okay. So total expenses per month are $3,600.
Yeah.
Not horrible if this is vacant a few months.
Yeah. He also, this is a small thing, but he said that like it kind of smells like cigarette smoke in the office space and there's old wallpaper. It's like, I think it's pretty outdated on the inside, which would make it, that's why on our call on Tuesday, I was asking of like, how do you rent out a space when you can't improve it because you don't own it yet? Because a lot of like low hanging fruit improvements, I think would really help the building, including like coating the roof or, doing landscape, all the little stuff, getting rid of the smoke smell. But I don't think I'm allowed to like touch those things before I own it.
That's correct. You're also thinking in terms of residential, where
Yeah.
you want to stage a house. In in this scenario, somebody is coming in here because they need the warehouse space and they need some office or showroom.
Hmm.
That's it. They don't care about aesthetics because they can fix all that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think this is a steal. I would get this under contract. Try to get it at 450.
Okay.
Just put an offer in on it, and the broker is going to be like, okay, like, what do you know about this building? Blah blah blah. Just say, my partners and I have been looking for something just like this. So we're at the end of the year. We need something for depreciation.
Mhm.
Say that, and they'll think, oh my god, this guy knows what he's doing.
Okay.
We've just say, we want to close by the end of the year, or we need to close by the end of the year. Write that down, please, or somebody write it down.
Yeah, Ali's taking notes
Okay.
too.
The reason is, look, everybody is hip to the game now. Let's get it under contract, see if we can get a tenant.
Yeah.
But if you add uh, some sense of urgency, we need the tax write off. We want to close by the end of the year. Well, what else do you own in the area? Write this down. 2003 Dryden Road.
You got it. Okay.
Just say one of my partners owns 2003 Dryden Road. And I
Okay.
want to see how far that is. I think it's
Maureen.
yeah, it is 5 miles away.
Oh yeah, it's just a little south.
So that adds some legitimacy to you, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you guys are okay, I'd like to put this recording up on our private Facebook group so others can see this as well. Now, for anybody else that is looking and you don't have one of my properties close by, you can always say, my team and I are looking to pick up one more flex building before the end of the year. My team and I are looking for uh, the the depreciation in 23. Um, just I often say things like, we're looking to deploy capital. Things like that make you sound like you've been here before.
Hmm.
So now here's what I would do. I would get this under a 45-day due diligence and 30-day close,
Hmm.
and tell them that no matter what, you want to close by the end of the year. And then also tell them that you would rather not pay cash for this, because if you go to a lender on a vacant building, they may not be thrilled to finance it. So let them know it's not a necessity that I find a tenant, but it would help. This way, I don't have to bring cash to closing.
Yeah.
If they want proof of funds, email me. I'll send it to you. Um, but I think this could be a steal. Now, if they accept your contract, then what do you do? And I'm going to stop talking for a second. I want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
What do you do?
I think obviously market this space. Thankfully, it's vacant, so it's easy to like. There's not going to be a lot of sensitivity around pictures being posted and all of that. But I would aggressively try and find a new tenant. I would have the roof inspected, as well as the two mechanicals on the roof. I'd love to walk the space and be in. They have no pictures of the inside, so I'd love to see the condition of the inside, even though it's not residential. Just making sure that there's not something that the second I step in the front door, it's like, oh, this is why it's been sitting for a month and a half. Um, and then, yeah, this is part of why I was asking on Tuesday too. Like, would you ever close on something without having the tenant in it? Is like, I have to imagine with this time of year and with the state of the building, it might be challenging to find someone quickly. So, just wondering, like, would I actually close on it if I don't find a tenant in 45 days or not? And would love your opinion on that.
Okay, so let's answer those questions. One, yes, you definitely want to walk the property, walk the building, look for deferred maintenance. So you could possibly use that for ammunition to retrade the property. Retrade just means negotiate a better price.
Okay.
Um, and sometimes the brokers will say, look, we'll get it under contract, but we're not going to retrade at all. Right. And that's fine, whatever. This is all a game, right? This is unlike residential real estate, commercial real estate. They expect people to retrade,
Yeah.
even though they tell you not to.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is you want to drive through that entire industrial park and look at how much vacancy there is. Obviously, Google Maps from a year ago doesn't help us a whole lot, but it's a good sign. I think the economy is better now than it was a year ago. Um, it's not trending that way anymore, but nonetheless, let's take a look at the area and make sure that um, there's not a ton of vacancy. If there is, you're going to have to beat everybody else in price, and you may be able to do that at $4 a square foot,
Hmm.
right? Any for lease sign, you want to take a picture, call whoever picks up the phone, find out what they're charging.
Okay.
If you can undercut them, you're going to win.
When you do that, how transparent are you with them about like why you're calling, or are you like pretending you are interested in the space?
I would usually secret shop it.
Yeah.
Um, and it just kind of, these conversations are dynamic. They're going to ask you, what kind of company do you have? Have something ready to go, right? Are you a broker or an end user? And you could be obscure. You could say, look, I'm a real estate investor, but I'm doing this for a buddy of mine as a favor. He's outgrowing his space, and this is what he's looking for. This
Hmm.
way, you divert any answers that you don't have. Like, how many square feet do you have now? I don't know. He's got a building that's about that size, right? Um,
Hmm.
it's not terrible if you want to be transparent, and you could just say, look, I'm an investor in the area. I'm trying to get more information. Tell me about your building. Would you consider selling your building? Right? Just start a conversation. I mean, there's no reason that somebody should be secretive, especially if they have a for lease sign. The more people that know, the better.
Right.
Right? What are they going to say? Unless you're serious, I'm not going to tell you. I mean, they're
Yeah.
only hurting themselves.
Silly. Yeah.
But that's the important thing, right? You want to make sure there's not excessive vacancy. And I'm telling you, the proximity to 75, having two exits, is unheard of. This is amazing in terms of location.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
would get it under contract sooner than later. Um, be forthright, offer to show proof of funds, right? Um, but let them know you really want to find a tenant so you don't have to come to the table with cash.
Yeah. Yeah, would we be able to finance it if we don't have a tenant by closing or a
Um,
letter of intent?
that's a good question. You don't have a track record with commercial.
Mhm.
You could partner with somebody that does, and they'd be able to close on it. Um, but you can raise $450,000 in 60
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
You guys have never raised capital before, right?
No, but yeah, I like, yeah, we do feel like we could raise that money. Um, we have, yeah, I think we would be able to raise whatever we need left over to close on it, assuming that the deal makes sense.
Could you go back
Yes,
and refinance when you find a tenant?
100%. You would get the property reappraised, right? So let's assume we go into this with cash. Um, we would then find a tenant, and once we get the tenant in, is when we get the first appraisal done. About $2,500 for the appraisal, and then you go to a lender, and you'll likely be able to pull cash out of the appraisal of the loan,
Okay.
because this should easily appraise for quite a bit more than what you're buying it for.
Would okay, that makes sense. What would be your 2 to 5 year plan on this building? Like if you were buying it, what would your strategy be?
What would yours be?
I feel well. All I know is what you've taught me, which is value add play. Like buy
Find a
it,
tenant.
find a tenant. The value add is that it's marketed as industrial and now it's flex. It's a good location. Doesn't have a tenant, vacant building. Get a tenant. Maybe improve the space a little bit, but really just like lock in a good lease, and then once the value is there, sell it and recuperate the value of the property.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you're looking at the pro forma right now, right?
yeah.
Okay,
Oh, yeah,
so let's assume the rock bottom price of $4 a square foot comes out to $55,000 a year, right?
yeah.
Scroll up a little bit. Now, debt service on that is annual payment of 33,000. So a real simple way to do this is let's go up to the purchase price and let's put 650. Now debt service is 45,000. Let's put 750.
You're just looking for the break even.
Yep. So let's put 700.
What's the break? I'm not following.
I think with you're talking about like the rent being equal to the debt servicing.
Yep. So you're at 7 million. Okay. So this is just the simplest way of doing it. You say, hey, tenant, you're paying $55,000 a year in rent. How about this? Instead, buy the building for 700,000 and you're going to be saving money and you'll own the building. That's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, because would they be paying $4 a square foot plus insurance and taxes and CAM, all of that?
Yeah, so
So
ideally we want $5 a square foot minimum, but we also want taxes, insurance, maintenance,
yeah,
right? We want it to be triple net. We may not get that.
yeah. I'm just thinking of like for them, their current monthly payment would be our rent plus those things. So their break even is actually higher than that, right?
They're
Well,
paying
they're
that regardless,
Oh, they're
right?
paying it anyways. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. Yeah.
And
Okay.
look, this is an incredibly conservative pro forma. $4 is unheard of low.
Okay.
But if the deal works at $4, imagine what it does at 6, all in gross. Yeah, let's just do that.
when you say gross, like, is that when we assume we pay for expenses, or what's? How should I think about like what you
Yes,
use?
gross. Yeah, a gross lease is one where the tenant just pays one number. That's it. There's no additional charges.
Okay.
They
So
literally,
you would be responsible for the maintenance and the insurance and
yes, it's like apartment rent.
yeah.
We're
Okay.
just paying, one amount. But now, even though it's gross, they should pay their own utilities. And they
Yeah.
should
Can
pay
we
their
actually, I was gonna say, can we just build out this to be the gross scenario? Mostly because I've never, I don't know what the assumptions would be. So let's say it's like $6 a square foot gross. Maybe is that really too low? I don't know.
let's do 5 again. Let's just be conservative.
Okay. And then on expenses, so like I'm paying taxes. What do you assume for is there a percentage that you assume for insurance, or how do you estimate that?
This building should be, I would say, 3 grand a year
Oh wow. Okay.
at most.
I'm curious how different that was than what we were assuming. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty close. We were, or no, that's much lower than we were assuming.
I was assuming 0.5%.
0.5%, right?
This is
Oh yeah,
0.6, so
we were doing 0.55. Okay, got it. Vacancy repairs. So then, in a gross situation, we would pay some repairs.
Yes.
Okay. How do you think about that? Like some of these other assumptions, like
Let's do
repairs.
10 grand a year.
Okay. And then capex.
That's included in
Same.
repairs and capex.
Single tenant is like they would always do landscaping, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much there, right? You're not putting pretty flowers in. You're
Yeah.
paying somebody nominal to cut the lawn, but really it
Okay.
should be on the tenant.
Okay. And then any idea? I feel like I could estimate landscaping, but I don't know what snow removal contracts cost.
It's going to be on the tenant.
Okay.
It's not, if it's single tenant, it should always fall on them.
Yeah.
It's their building, it's their property. Do they want their grass to be 12 inches high? If not, tenant, you should probably cut it.
Yeah. And just for like other deals that I'm doing pro forma on, what kind, like if it's a multi-tenant situation, what kind of assumption do you do for snow or?
So in our area, I would estimate a minimum of 2,000. And we've paid as high as 30,000, but that's a giant strip mall parking lot.
Okay.
3,000.
Okay. Helpful. That was one I had no idea on for the other building we were looking at. Okay. And then repairs, got it. CapEx, snow, trash. That's typically included in your taxes, but sometimes not.
But you're never paying trash. That's always a
Okay.
tenant.
Okay. What
Now,
about?
if you had multi-tenants, you would have them figure out trash. You can
Okay.
get the dumpster, and have it emptied however often, but they would have to pay you back for that. And then you can profit from that a little bit as well. So trash should never be your expense.
This is
And this is not for every commercial. This is for this particular type of building.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, this is a really basic question, but with a triple net situation, in terms of how it actually logistically works, let's say the tenant is paying, all the 3 nets.
Okay.
Would I actually be the one that pays them and then charges them for it after I pay it?
It depends. If you inherit a lease, you are at the mercy of what's in the lease.
Mm-hmm.
If you are creating the lease, then no, you offload it to them.
Okay, because like if they don't pay the taxes, wouldn't I kind of be the one that's on the hook for it as the building owner?
Yes. So in those cases, if the tenant is sketchy, you would want to be reimbursed for that.
Okay, but the preference is like have them find their own insurance, maybe have requirements on the level of insurance that they get, that kind of thing, and then they just pay for it, like and show proof of insurance and taxes.
Yes. And when we cover leases, we'll go through all of that.
Oh, cool, awesome. What do you assume for management or professional fees?
You're not going to outsource the management for this, but if you did, let's do 4% of revenue.
Okay, helpful.
But you look, this is what I teach you. You're not going to outsource this. This is not difficult to manage,
Yeah.
and you never have to be on site.
Yeah. It's a lot of these questions are for other pro forma underwriting.
Got
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
So, yeah, if
yeah.
you're outsourcing a very complex management on an out of state property, 4%.
Okay. Okay. And then gas and electric, I think they pay utilities for single tenant and for multi tenant typically. Water is something that you would split across. How do you figure out
Yes.
what you probably just ask the broker what the water payment is?
If you have, so obviously single tenant, they're paying water. If it's multi tenant, um, i- you may have scenarios where, let's say, you have a 2-tenant building and there's one tenant in there now, and then
Mhm.
you fill the other vacancy. You can very easily establish the baseline of what that one tenant pays. The next tenant pays everything above that, right? And you don't go in there and do meter readings and all that nonsense. I mean, I've had properties that had separate add-on devices where you would have to go there every month, look at the meters and sub bill everybody. Not worth it. You tack on some additional cushion, bill it out, and it is what it is. It'll be
Okay.
a small profit center,
Yeah.
but you're not. It's not worth anybody's time to go out and read meters.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. And then that's doesn't apply here. Parking. What is the parking cost or expense? What would that look like?
When you walk the property, um, you just want to see the condition of the asphalt,
Mm-hmm.
right? Depending on the usage of the tenant, um, you want to make sure they're not constantly bringing in heavy flatbed trucks and destroying the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
So you just want to take that into account. But if it doesn't need much, maybe a resealing, um, you just estimate what the cost would be.
Okay. Got it. So that's almost like capex, but just
It is
specifically for parking. Okay.
correct.
Cool. No, thank you
And
for walking
yeah,
through row by row. That's helpful.
and you'll be surprised at how buildings like this, they're fine with some potholes and busted up asphalt, right? Because it's
Yeah.
mostly semis. As
Yeah.
long as the customer area is legit.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you have a contract that you typically use for writing offers that helps with all this due diligence, like having clauses to help give you reasons to back out if you need to?
Um, you don't need a contract. You can use the Board of Realtor commercial contract, and in there, it has a due diligence period. You fill that in, and in this case, ideally 45 days. And for any reason, you can get out.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
This one was so this is this one that we sent you?
Yeah. This was kind of in the
This
like
is
yeah.
this is pretty intricate.
Okay.
Um, there's some addendums on this one, isn't there?
Let me see. I didn't make it all the way through.
Yeah, this is not an easy one.
Okay.
But this is the Board of Realtors commercial contract. And if you want to go up to the due diligence clause, we can go through that.
Yeah. Due diligence.
Contingencies.
Okay.
Okay, so financing, they may or may not allow a financing contingency.
Okay.
Let's just go to the inspections. Buyers shall complete inspections within X number of days of acceptance of the contract. Um, if buyer is not satisfied with the results of buyer's inspection, then buyer shall have the option to terminate this contract, providing written notification to whomever. It doesn't say, it's been so long since I've done residential, but I think residential, you have to provide them a list of what's wrong, and then they have to remedy it or give you money. And this literally is, hey, sorry, I'm out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you have to have an inspector go through there. You can say, I inspected it. My buddy Ash went up there and inspected it. He didn't like it.
Yeah. So this is where the inspection period is the same as the due diligence period.
Correct.
Okay.
Now, Allie, your question, do I have a contract? We do. But all that does is when you present a contract to them, it gets attorneys involved. And then
Oh.
you're another week out at least going back and forth. You don't need contracts unless it's a complex deal. There's certain things that have to occur for you to close. For example, if you have a tenant that is on the verge of renewing, but their renewal date is after your due diligence, you can add that into the contract. Contract is null and void if tenant A doesn't renew, or different things like that. But on a vacant building, this is very simple.
I saw at the top it had like this example had some earnest money. In this case, if you did earnest money, would you not get your earnest money back if you backed out?
You get it back as long as you back out within the number of days of the inspection period, the due
Okay.
diligence period.
What do you see as like typical in terms of doing earnest money? I imagine it's different than our experience in residential.
It varies. It's crazy. Inexperienced brokers, especially ones that come from the residential world, would be like, "Yeah, will you put $1,000 down for earnest?" Sure. Commercial brokers, if they're savvy and they want to know that you are legit, they may ask for 10,000. Historically, I had a building that was listed for 500,000 and it was vacant. I offered 400,000, but I put $100,000 of earnest money down. And that was for no other reason than to get their attention. It was a low ball offer, 20% off their asking price. And they would have disregarded it, but I put the $100,000 earnest. That's what made them take the offer seriously.
Mhm.
And that's how I landed the deal. You don't need to do that on this case.
Thanks.
But Ryan, you said something earlier that is going to hold true in that you may not get a tenant because we're coming up on the holidays,
Yeah.
end of year, right? So this is why it's going to be important in due diligence that we look in the area for vacancies. We call up every commercial broker we know, and not that we know, but that we can find, and ask them for their opinion. Ask them if they have any people looking for a property like this. Let them know we will compensate them if they bring a tenant. And then we want to call all the neighboring businesses and say, hey, we've got this space coming up for lease. Are you guys outgrowing your space? If not, do you know anyone that's looking to be in this area?
Mhm. What do you typically compensate a broker or someone who like brings a deal to you? What's standard?
The standard is 6% of the entire lease amount. So if somebody signs a 5-year lease at $50,000 a year, you're paying 6% of $250,000. So
Is that what you typically pay?
it's $15,000. It depends. Um, you can negotiate that, and especially now where brokers are slowing down, I would negotiate 3% if they find the tenant, maybe 4.5% if there's two brokers involved. And then there's other things where you don't want to pay up front. You pay kind of in installments, right? You can't drag it out too far because they want their money. That's how they get paid.
I have to do so I gotta go.
Okay.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
But just know historically the going rate's been 6% on leases, and it's the entire value of the lease.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd heard that. I did. Okay. So that's like See, Allie, she's got a meeting.
No worries.
6%. Okay.
So 15
Because that,
grand on 50,000 a year for 5 years.
yeah. Okay. Because that's like usually that's if two brokers are involved, so you're paying 3% to one, 3% to another, right?
Yes, but so here's the deal. If you sign with a listing broker, they're going
Mhm.
to start at 6%, right? Now,
Mhm.
ideally, we don't want to list this with one broker. We want this available to every broker.
Yeah.
Whoever brings us a deal, we will compensate you.
Okay.
This is
So
not
you're
that you yeah, sorry, this is not that unique of a property where it's going to take an extraordinary marketing effort.
okay.
This is a simple building. There's tenants out there that want it.
Yeah. Okay. So this is because so if I were to sign with a listing broker, which I know you're not recommending, but if I did that, then I'd be paying a total of 6%, and it would all go to them. And then would they kind of pay out the other broker that maybe brings
Correct.
a tenant along?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then if I kind of represent myself, but then I end up using a broker, like they come with a tenant, would I still
3%.
pay them 6% as well?
No, you pay them 3.
Three. Okay. Okay. That's similar to residential. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Where? So in terms of a contract, are you saying just like Google? Like, yeah, I love if you have any sort of resource or like, hey, here's the standard template. Because you also said like, don't to Allie, like, don't go and like send a contract, then it gets reviewed like a full thing. So what would I send first?
So this is listed with a broker. So
Yeah.
you ask them, you tell them, I want to get this under contract.
Okay.
And hopefully, so if they say, send us over a contract, just say, look, I don't want to complicate things by having my attorney, having the attorneys go back and forth. Let's just use the standard Board of Realtors commercial contract.
Okay.
And for a deal like this, they shouldn't ask you to send them a contract. They should just say, cool, I'll send you a contract. They'll send it to you through DocuSign, fill it out. You have 3 days to deposit earnest money. You deposit it, and they're going to ask you, who's your title company? Do you have one that you work with?
Um, I've worked with a few. If you have one that you like and recommend, I'm open to it though.
Yes. Use John Bailey at Central Land Title.
Okay.
That guy does a ton of commercial. I've used them for 15 years.
Okay. Great. Uh, I think would it be like I think what I might try to do is walk the property tomorrow if I can, like in the before I head out of town for the weekend, and see if I can see it, and then talk in person about like the contract. Do you think that's an okay plan of attack?
Yes, I think it's important because a lot of brokers will say, have you walked the property? And
Yeah.
if you say no, they may come back with, well, go take a look at it and then call me back. They want to know that if you sign a contract, you're not wasting their time.
Yeah.
So I would call the broker, say, look, let's get this under contract. Um, can you meet me out there tomorrow morning? And we'll do a quick walkthrough.
Okay. What would you offer?
So one thing before I forget,
Oh yeah.
when you do the walkthrough, take as many pictures as you can, get
Yeah.
some measurements,
Okay.
rough measurements of walls, maybe office sizes,
Okay.
a ton of pictures, zoom out in your phone and get as many pictures from corners as you can.
Okay.
And you want to be able to draw out a rough floor plan for potential tenants.
Hmm.
In the warehouse, if there's any supporting poles, You want to get their locations and plot them out. The least number of poles that are back there, the better.
Okay.
Hopefully, it's all just clear spanned, no supporting structure whatsoever. Um, Obviously, get pictures of the bay door, and that's it on the walk. In terms of the offer, if you say how flexible is your seller, they come back with a nonsense answer. They're not prices firm.
Yeah.
Um, just get the brokers talking, right? Second interrogation, you just got to get them talking. What do you know about the sellers?
Yeah. That's what I
Um,
was doing. Yeah, on the phone. And
yeah,
yeah. It's
ask
interesting.
ask a lot of questions,
Yeah.
and then just say, let's get this done at 450.
Okay.
You want to find out how much interest there is in the building. How many people have you had come by and take a look? And then, you want to gauge how full of shit the broker is too,
Yeah.
because a lot of them will just be like, we're expecting an offer any day. We've
Yeah.
got several people looking. All the typical salesman bullshit.
Yeah. We're
But I
looking at the. Okay. Okay.
I want you to stress that we need to close by the end of the year,
Yeah.
even though you don't have to. That it just adds more urgency to getting the deal done with you.
Yeah. That makes sense. What do you think about this gross lease situation? Like when we plug these numbers in conservatively and at a 2.4% cash on cash.
Let's scroll up. So that was at $5 a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go down a little bit. Your taxes you more than doubled.
Yeah, so assuming I didn't do an entity transfer for like conservatism's sake, but
They're still not going to double. But
okay,
let's go maybe 13, 14,000.
13 or 14,000. Okay. I was just using the in Cincinnati. I think it's just like proportionate when it gets reassessed in like however many years.
Yeah, and by the way, let's put insurance of 3,000 on column 1.
Okay.
All right. And so column 1, $4 a square foot, you're still at 7% cash on cash.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be paying taxes, right? In the triple net or
Well,
insurance.
column 1 is gross lease, the most conservative, $4 a square foot gross.
Okay. Then I should put repairs here too. Or no.
Yeah, let's see what it does.
All right.
You're losing $100 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So let's put 9,000. All right, so that's about your break even.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so this is assuming we don't do triple net. So it's a 4% gross and I'm not charging back any of these things. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
So that would be fire sale in terms of leasing, but also it's Dayton and I don't know how easy it is to lease out something in Dayton right now.
Right.
Okay.
The key right now is you want to lock this up because it appears to be a great deal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think maybe in scenario three, I want to see like what the upside is.
All
And
right.
maybe the upside is just in the cap rate, but part of looking at it, I was like, this seems like not necessarily a home run, but I don't know Well,
let's
when
go
I
to
first saw it, I thought it was a great deal, but then I was like, I just don't know anything, so I need to just
let's
ask.
go to scenario 3, and let's
Yeah.
put 650 um, a square foot.
Okay.
And then let's keep the taxes up high, keep the
Yep.
insurance up. Repairs, let's keep that. You're at 23% cash on cash. And it's making almost $30,000 after debt service.
Yep.
And at a 9 cap, it's almost $700,000.
Yeah. What would you think would be the right cap rate? I haven't looked at cap rates in that area.
I think conservatively, a 9 cap would do
Okay.
because of where it's at and the type of building it is. If this
Yeah.
was a mixed use building, I'd go 10 cap.
Okay. Is it flex space if it has office and warehouse? Like, am I using the right term there?
You are to some extent.
Okay.
So flex is any combination of warehouse and office retail, whatever else.
Yeah.
Mixed use is typically referred to as residential with
Yeah.
some kind of commercial.
Okay. I guess I feel like my impression was that flex was like a very popular asset class right now
It
that's in
is.
high demand. And
It
okay.
is. And look, you might get an 8.5 cap, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I don't we don't do pro forma. On your own time, you're more than welcome to play with numbers, but that's not what we do. We
Yeah.
conservatively underwrite. We're not multifamily investors that have the
Yeah.
area going massively high into the right.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think what I was hesitant on with this one was, I kind of conservatively underwrote it as well as best as I could, and I was like, okay, yeah, like not a great cash on cash return, not a huge amount of risk. The risk is that I can't rent it out, but like, okay, fine. But then when I kind of did the upside of like maybe I can really rent it out high, I didn't know if this was really a high enough upside, but maybe I'm not. I shouldn't be looking at cash on cash. I should be looking at what's the gap of this after selling fees versus what I paid for it and the length of time. So buying for 450, selling for 700. That's whatever
Um,
250. I
no,
don't know. How do I think about like the upside? Because
always. Look, we keep it very, very simple, right? Always
yeah,
look at cash on cash.
okay,
Now, if that number is over 20%, everything else works. The
okay,
sale price works. Who cares how much it costs you to sell it? You're making so much money on the deal. Pay the broker commission,
yeah,
right? We never have to underwrite deals where we have to take into account how much is it going to cost me to sell and how does that impact my deal. The numbers better be off the charts to where that number is insignificant.
yeah. So is 24% cash on cash as like a high side? Like, is that a high enough high side?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. That was
People are
I
not going to look. People are not going to believe you if you do find a tenant at 650 a square foot
mhm.
and your true number is even 20% cash on cash, not 23.7 but 20. People are going to be in disbelief. These deals don't exist with other
Really?
asset
Okay.
classes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if you tell people your first commercial deal, you've gotten 20% cash on cash or even 15% cash on cash,
Yeah.
they're I mean, they're they're going to be skeptical. This doesn't exist in the residential world.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's helpful. And do you think that I know you're not like a Dayton expert necessarily, but I don't know. I learned dollar per square foot lease rates about a week ago. Like a 6.5, is that really a stretching rate, or is that like, yeah, you should probably be able to get that? Like, between base case, best case, worst case, is this more on the best case scenario side, or is it like, no, this is, you could almost expect to get 6.5 per square foot gross?
Well, let's have the broker answer that. So when you go up, print out the other listings they have for lease
Okay.
and dissect each one of them. How long has this been on the market? Is it similar to my building? What's the difference? Why is it not getting leased up?
Yeah. Okay.
And then ask them what the total price is with price per square foot and triple net on those other properties.
What can you explain what that means? What's
Yeah,
the list?
so they listed one at 525 plus triple net.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's get an estimate from the broker on what that triple net or what the cam charge is. And the broker should say, yeah, it's 525 plus 250 in cam. That means the all-in price is 675.
Okay. And is that how you try to think about it to compare apples to apples, is like kind of the all-in rate to the tenant?
Yes, because a tenant would rather pay 675 gross than 525 plus 250 cam because that cam is variable, it's out of their control and has
Yeah.
the potential of going up significantly.
Okay.
So, look, tenants don't like variable rates. They want to pay one price and not have to get hit with overages.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Cool. Well, this has been really valuable.
And
Thanks for,
do you mind do you and Allie mind if I put this in our private Facebook group?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No,
Because I think it would be helpful for other people as well. You asked some great questions,
thanks.
and I'm sure these are questions that everyone else has too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. Like, yeah, just the details of like, yeah, since it's the first time I've underwritten it in this sense, it's like, okay, I don't exactly know what to assume here. What's normal? Like, I'd love to just not pay anything and pass everything triple net, but I can't imagine that sounds too good to be true. Um, we also have an office building in Dayton that I found on Craigslist, and they're super motivated and came back to me after I walked away. But it has a billboard on it, and it has interesting numbers. But like, I don't know if I want to own an office in Dayton. Anyways, that can be a topic for another day because I have a meeting in like 10 minutes.
Okay,
But
bring it up Tuesday because
yeah,
Robel has that office building in Dayton.
right, right. Yeah,
Um,
this one has a State Farm agent, which is nice, but it's also one or two vacant units, and they bought it like 2 years ago. And California investor, that whole thing.
how many total units?
6.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. It's not priced. I don't think it's priced very well, which is why I just said, hey, I would have to offer you less than what you bought it for 2 years ago, and I think they just responded an hour or two ago, but the tips you gave on like finding deals has been super fun. Like I love looking and calling all these people and Craigslist. Like it's been fun.
so
Yeah,
this is how it gets done, right? It's that simple. Get a deal. That's it. We'll walk you through everything
yeah,
else. I can't find the deals for everybody, but as
yeah,
soon as you find them, man, I'll help you underwrite them. We'll walk you through it.
yeah,
That's it. That's all it takes.
yeah. No, it's yeah. I appreciate that. It's definitely intimidating. Of like, I'm not afraid of taking action, but it's like I really don't even know step one, two,
You're not
let alone
supposed to.
step
Look, man, we've only been through 2 weeks of class, right?
10.
Um,
Yeah,
and look, I think this will be very helpful because rather than me teaching people how to do this, when they get to see what we just did, I think that'll be really valuable for people.
yeah, great.
Awesome, brother. Call me if you have any questions. Call me anytime.
Yeah, will
Uh,
do. I was gonna tell you too, with the mixed use homework assignment, it was really funny right after you like said, all right, this is your homework assignment. The next morning a 12 unit with a laundromat like building attached popped up, and then a restaurant over in Bethel like mixed use popped up. And I've been like looking for a couple weeks for mixed use, and then in 2 days, like two of them popped up, and the Bethel one's pretty interesting.
You manifested it.
Yeah, well, you just assign next time, assign a homework assignment for a flex space, and then it'll pop up.
Will do. Yeah. All right. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Call me with
Thanks,
any questions. And
appreciate it. Yeah,
try
you
to get that
too.
walkthrough tomorrow
Yep.
morning. If they don't do the walkthrough, get it under contract today.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get through it tomorrow. The broker just had a kid last weekend, so I'll work with his and the guy underneath him.
Got it. Perfect.
Cool.
All
Thanks,
right. Thank
Ash.
you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.